we just got in the car and moved across country, sleeping in hotels and all kinds of stuff. So it's been rough by our own making, as well as just having a spirited baby. But anyway, it's been great.
So let me ask you this. Obviously, your that how I got to know you. Your politics are libertarian, very much so. A big Ayn Rand individualist type. Have your positions or thoughts about things changed after having a kiddo?
Not at all. No. No. I don't, I think I still, I think if anything, you have a greater sense that you want to change I have a greater sense that I want to change the world for her, But other than that, no, I think that my ideas were right before and after the baby.
As I have a friend that after she had kiddos, kind of became much more lefty in terms of, wanting her kid to be taken care of. And
oh my God, that is so weird. Why would you want the government to take care of your precious bundle?
Bingo.
I can't even imagine. I would die to put her in government schools. I'm just, I want to put her in good schools. It's just, I wouldn't want the government to touch her. Getting a Social Security card for her made me cringe. So.
You know what, Sonny? You know what? You mentioned education. I'm the same way. My kids are somewhat grown now. I have a 20-year-old and a 27-year-old, but. And one of them went to award-winning, this is before all the nonsense started pretty much, but went to an award-winning grade school. The principal, White House, literally awards. But by the time my son got to that age, it was out of control, and I put him in a private school. But when I look at what's going on now, and I look at people like you and the age of your daughter, I've said on the show multiple times, if the only way I could keep my young children out of a government school, and you say that correctly, and put them in private school was to sell everything and live in a tent, I would do it.
Right. They would be better off just not educating them. Like, just let them run wild, and they'll actually grow up healthier.
Right.
All right, so another thing I wanted to ask you about. When I was back in Minnesota a year and a half ago, you and I were kind of joking about Minnesota politics. And then, I don't know if you saw them, but I did a series of videos. I was back there this past Thanksgiving.
I did see those, Michael. I watched those, and I was surprised that you made it back alive.
Well, I'll just put it this way. The one day I walked out onto that frozen lake in flip-flops and a tank top and a bathing suit, and it was about 4 degrees. My nephews thought I was absolutely insane. And I do have all the feeling back in my toes. Thank you for asking.
You didn't lose any toes?
We at the time we had talked about Minnesota progressive lefty politics. Now you're kind of inculcated into the left coast. Do you see a distinction? I mean, have you noticed with everything going on with your daughter, et cetera, have you noticed any sort of a difference that you could identify either in a humorous fashion or even a straight fassion, the difference between lefty politics and San Fran and the Twin Cities?
Well, so far I'm honestly not that aware of local politicians, except from a lifestyle standpoint. So what I'm seeing from from my daily life that's different with respect to politics is that I actually have to recycle for the first time in my life, which I'm noticing now because I've never recycled. I've never done it. And in Minnesota, they don't really make you by charging you outrageous fees for, basically this is how they do it in California. They give you the teeniest, tiniest garbage pail for your regular trash. and this huge recycling bin. So if you want to throw away everything, you have to pay a huge amount of money to get a big garbage can. So they purposely they kind of get you that way. So we've started recycling, and I'm noticing it takes so much effort in my head to figure out what I can recycle and what I can't. So first of all, like I'm in the kitchen, I get through something, and then I have to sit there and think, okay, does it go in this trash bin or the other trash bin, or which trash bin do I throw this in? And the resources, the mental human resource, and the physical, like I have to walk to this one or go to this one. It takes so much effort. I mean, you guys out here probably are just used to it, but for somebody who's never done it, I can't believe how much time I'm spending thinking about recycling.
You know what? I put up a post a while ago. This goes back a while. Housing, you may be aware of this. Sonny, you may be too. But not only is it mandatory I don't think it's probably all of California housing. You can probably let me know one way or the other. But I recall writing a post about at least somewhere out there where there are like what would we call them? Trash bin inspectors who will go out and figure out if you're complying with the law or not. If they find stuff, apartment complexes or wherever, I don't remember exactly. But if you put the wrong stuff in there, you're subject to fines, and they're kind of increasing depending on how long you violate the law.
Yeah, and just think about this. Like, I think of recycling as like almost like it's just an arbitrary ritual that doesn't actually do anything. I don't know how it is that the entire country is doing this, because it feels like a Catholic ritual or something. Not to say anything about Catholics, but at least you get to choose to be a Catholic. But it feels like you're just going through this physical and mental motion. And it's not for any reason, because all of the incredible waste of resources that go into recycling has to be greater than anything that was happening by not recycling.
Okay, so here, and I'm saying this tongue in cheek,
cars and the trucks and the
here's where you're
plants.
making the mistake. You ready? You said you see no reason. It's been my take for a long time. People who recycle, in Indiana here, in Indianapolis, we put these, probably happens everywhere else too, but the cans we put out, the big things on wheels that is recycled, they have yellow lids, and then the regular trash. I have believed for a long time, particularly for people who pay for it when they don't have to, it's to make themselves feel good. They're somehow contributing to cutting down on global warming and destroying the environment and the whole thing. I mean,
they actually think there's a reason. They think that
exactly, but they're doing it to make themselves feel better.
But if you think about it for 2 seconds, the resources. I mean, even if you're about saving resources, recycling is the exact opposite of what we should be doing. And do you guys remember the good old days when we had a collection of 5 or 6 beat-up aluminum trash cans behind the house that the drugs would go? Those were the good old days. Just throw whatever you want out there, and they come get it.
Well, I, for one, as a Californian, as a human being, as a citizen of the planet, to imagine you in your incredibly overpriced, awesome San Francisco flat, that you're spending time doing things, cycling, sorting, putting the correct things.
Yeah.
I don't know, Sonny. It just makes me feel really good to know that despite the hatred of the earth that you have demonstrated for your entire life, that now that the municipal codes in San Francisco have required behaviors of you, that you're now conforming to those, that makes me feel good, man.
I've been nudged. Cass Sunstein would be proud.
You have effectively been nudged, darling.
The other thing that's different out here culturally, which is kind of funny, is you guys have this. I don't know if they have this in Southern California, but in Northern California, people brag about their progressivism. I've never had that before. I've never noticed this before. In Minnesota, we don't really brag.
I'm surprised that didn't happen in Minneapolis.
What's that?
I'm surprised that did not happen in Minneapolis.
Well, it's a Midwestern thing. Bragging is kind of a no-no. It's sort of looked down upon. But here, people fall all over themselves to tell me how progressive they are. And I think it's so funny.
Well, give an example. What do you mean?
I just, like somebody will say, they'll tell me about all their good work, their volunteerism. Or that, like our neighbor who's a doctor, the first time I met him, he's telling me that he donates his doctor time somewhere. And then the other person, some other woman that I met for the first time is telling me how she volunteers for the homeless. So it's just like, before I know anything else about them, the first thing, it's like they're giving me their resume. They don't say, yeah, I'm a doctor. They say, first, I volunteer for the homeless, and then later, wow, and I'm a doctor.
Wow.
So, which is funny because then I have no response to that.
I donate my time to my 6-month-old daughter.
This is right. Well, I've decided I'm going to start one-upping them. So whatever they say, I'm going to be even more progressive in like an absurd way just to kind of have fun with it. So like, something like, oh, that's great. I just gave my kidney to a homeless guy yesterday.
Yeah, you need to develop a list. She sounds like Auntie Jody, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
With that one.
Yeah, but Auntie Jody in San Francisco as a smartass. Now,
exactly.
As far as me living here in Southern California, I'm in Newport Beach, so I've got a, it's a bit of a cocoon, in that it's, it's Newport Beach is fairly conservative, unlike Laguna, which is the next town south of me.
Yeah,
Laguna is kind of lefty hippy dippy. It's the Orange County version of Santa Monica, I suppose.
Yeah.
Wow. So, here it's, I was gonna get the Aston Martin Vanquish, but I decided to get the Aston Martin Vanquish GT. That's the bragging that happens here in Newport Beach.
Somebody asked me, is it like that in Southern California? And I said, no, they just brag.
We just brag.
They're not progressive braggers, they're just braggers.
It's in their genes. Okay, let me ask you, we're going to let you go here in a minute or less, but completely random question. Did you, quick one, and then the question, did you grow up in Minnesota?
I did, yes.
Okay, so here's my question. I've spent a lot of time up there, and you do not sound like a Minnesotan. As you well know, Minnesotans, their sentences all sound like questions. That it's the up at the end. Why don't you sound like that?
That's Canadian. I don't know if you were hanging out with Canadians in Minnesota, but that's the Canadians where they talk like this. Yeah.
Right, eh?
Yeah, everything's a question.
I know a lot of people from up there, and yeah, so you do not do that. So that's pretty cool.
Well, part of that is I grew up in the city, and in the city, the accents aren't quite as thick.
Right.
That's the only thing I can think about that. But I also haven't lived there my whole life, so.
There we go.
I tell you what, we were outside of about 15 minutes outside of Chanhassen. We went and did cut a Christmas tree. And I was sitting in this little trailer. We were going out to cut Christmas trees out in this snow-covered field. And this woman, I thought she was kidding around. Her accent, the guys in Fargo would have loved to have her on set because it was just seemingly so mocking. Okay, we've got like 30 seconds here, Sunny. So tell people where to find you, and then we got to let you go.
All right. My YouTube channel is House of Sunny. If you go subscribe over there, you can get an email whenever I release a video. And there's some really good ones that have been shared around recently because of the bombing or the shooting in France. So they're kind of still relevant. And you can follow me on Facebook at Sunny Lohmann, and that's spelled SUNNYLOHMANN. And